Ever wonder what sets the winners apart from the losers? And what does it really take to be a winner? My name is Federico, and I'm a young, successful entrepreneur passionate about sports, real estate, mindset, and business. If you are just like me, then the Winning Ways podcast is meant for you. Yo. Welcome back to Winning Ways with Fred. My name is Federico, and I am your host. Today, I have a very special guest for you guys. The man, he has a big podcast. He's battled. He went from negative to positive in his life. And I'm going to introduce you to him in a few seconds. But first, please, again, as always, if you do enjoy the show, find it valuable, please share it. I'm sure you're going to want to share this one. So without further ado, Erik Allen, how are you, man?
I'm doing awesome, man. Thank you so much for having me on your show, man. Truly honored to be here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. So tell us a little bit about your story. I'm sure everybody's really excited to hear what you're about and how you got to this point in your life.
Yeah, man. I mean, the quick rundown is, I grew up in a typical household. We played Little League, went to Sunday school. My dad would literally take my friend and I, my best friend Dave and I, and he'd throw us in dumpsters behind big stores and say, go find treasure. That was like a fun thing to do on a Saturday morning, man. And, so it was just this fun childhood. And then my parents got divorced when I was 11. I'd never heard that word, didn't know anybody that had gotten a divorce. I had no idea what it was. And it was a shock to my system for sure. And then my mom, she ended up getting together with this guy who was very physically abusive shortly after. And almost from day one, he was this jerk guy. So I didn't understand why my mom kept him around. But, there's times where I was standing outside the bath, their window, they'd be arguing. So I'd be looking inside their window and he'd be hitting her with a cordless phone when those were around, like just crazy chaos, man. And, cops would come. My mom wouldn't press charges. It was just a weird thing to me. And then in the middle of my 8th grade year, they decided to move my sister, who's 4 years younger than me. And then they got pregnant up to Stevensville, Montana. So I grew up in Washington State. Stevensville, Montana's population, 1,200 people at the time. And they had this awesome house that they rented. It was on 5 acres, Bitterroot River. I mean, ponds, trees, awesome. Right. But the problem was that house had 3 bedrooms in it. And so there was a room for them. There was a room for my little brother who's a couple months old, and then one for my sister. And they're like, Eric, you to live in the garage. So I literally had this half of the garage, a plastic tarp down the middle of the garage. And that was my bedroom. And luckily I had a fireplace on my half that kind of kept me warm during the cold winters of Montana. Right.
Yeah, can imagine.
But, there's a moment, man, when I was like 13 years old and they came arguing, wasn't anything different. But I remember the moment because it was so clear. I was brushing my teeth and I felt like God was saying, dude, you got to turn around. And so the way the house was set up was behind me was the kitchen to the pantry to the garage where I stayed. And so as I turned around from the bathroom, I saw him on top of my mom, just one punch after the other, just boom, boom.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, man, I got to get this guy off. And so I walked up and I grabbed a cast iron pan and I swung as hard as I could and I split the back of his head open. And he turned around.
13?
At 13, yeah.
Wow. Okay.
And he turned around and he said, what? And as he did that, I took another swing and split his forehead open.
My God.
And hit him so hard the second time I actually didn't knock him out, which was weird, but I fell over. I remember him standing up over me and blood coming out of his face. He's yelling. My mom jumps up, lands like 6 punches in a row. Cops come, take him to jail for the night. My mom doesn't press charges. I kind of feel like I'm this hero because I stopped this thing from happening.
Yeah.
And the very next day I got kicked out of the house. I had 3 months left to my freshman year of high school.
Oh, man.
So I went and lived with my buddy Forrest on hardwood floors and for a couple months, him and his dad. And then after that, I moved back to live with my dad back in Washington after my freshman year of high school. And that basically set me on a path of destruction for the next 10 years, man.
Wow. So just going back to that story, 13 years old, you see your mom getting beat up by her boyfriend. You defend her. You think you are the hero, which you are really looking back at it. And she kicks you out.
Yeah.
Ooh, did you guys ever talk about why she kicked you out? Or did you ever talk about the situation at all with her or just let it go?
No, I mean, I'm not close to my mom at all. So, she lives out in Texas. So, there was moments over the next couple of years where I felt like, I think like I felt like I was close, but it always hung around. Like, I remember that moment, right?
Yeah.
And even now being an adult, I'm 42 years old. I'm looking back like that was horrible parenting, like I would never put my kids through that. Right. But yeah, so I'm not close with her at all. She lives out in Texas and oddly enough, my sister lives out there and has moved my dad out there too. So my whole immediate family moved from Washington to Texas to be with my sister now.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So that happened. You get kicked out, you move out with your buddy, then with your dad. Then what happens next?
I mean, I lived with my dad. So it was interesting. He rented a house from a girlfriend of his.
Okay.
And then he put, it was just him and I in the room or in the house. And so he'd put $20 in the cup for lunch money for the week. He'd fill the freezer with Hunger Man meals and cereal and all that stuff. And then he'd go stay with his girlfriend. So I had like no accountability. And basically my house became, parent free and I got into drugs really early on. So, I was smoking pot before school, during lunch and after school, and acid, mushrooms, opium, whatever I could get my hands on, Yeah. And when I was 18 years old, I got arrested for having a bong, which is funny because now it's legal in the state of Washington. But at the time in 1998, when I was a senior, it was illegal. And I had to go to jail, man. I had 24 hours in jail and I mean, black and white chain gang outfit on, bright orange slippers.
Oh, wow.
I was 145 pounds, scared to death to be in this cell with 14 other dudes. It was just crazy. Yeah. And then basically after that, man, I got kicked out 2 weeks after I graduated high school. So I woke up to a note on my mirror that said, you can't comply with house rules. You have 48 hours to get out. And so from there, I was basically homeless. Between ages of 18 and 21, I moved 21 times, living on couches here for 3 days, here a week, there, and was living off credit cards. And I moved to Seattle, Washington, which is about 4 hours from where I grew up.
Yeah.
And I had $100 in my pocket. Again, sleeping on floors up there and wherever I could stay, and ended up racking up $28,000 in debt. So by the time I was 21, I filed bankruptcy at 21 with $28,000 in debt. And it was so bad that I couldn't even open a savings account. I had to have a cosigner to open a savings account in a bank, which is crazy. I was borrowing money from Money Tree to pay off this cash advance. And then I was borrowing money from Cash Advance to pay Money Tree. Like, it was horrendous.
Yeah.
No guidance at all, man.
Yeah.
So
trying to figure out as you go.
Totally. And I was working for Universal Records. I landed a job with Universal Records up in Seattle, and just an intern guy. And then I was mailroom running sales and tracking sales and stuff like that. So, but it was a dream job for me to get there. So I lived this dream job for about a year. And then a year before that, I had some friends in the music business. So about 2 years, I went to about 176 concerts, 175 concerts on there, and had open tabbed every single tab or every show. So I was basically living the rockstar lifestyle, drinking alcohol, drugs, all of that, continuing and going down this path. And there was a moment where I was working at Starbucks at night, and this girl walked in and she said, "Hey, we've got this cool college age event down at our church. Would you be interested in going?" And I'm depressed. I have no friends, and she's good looking. Yep. What time do I need to be there? That was my mindset. Like, cause I was getting off work and I drink myself to sleep every night. So I'm like, hey, someone's giving me an opportunity to maybe go talk to somebody. And so I go down to this church event and I end up knowing all these guys from like 4 or 5 years prior. I was like, dude, I haven't seen you in 5 years. And so it's just weird. Like, God was planting a seed in that moment for me. Yeah. And about a month later, it was Easter 2004. I went out and I partied with this band I was managing, and I woke up Easter morning, in my buddy's basement, and I felt God saying, dude, you're going down this path that's going to end your life real quick, man, if you don't start making some changes. So I decided that moment, I gave my life to Christ. I quit cold turkey, drugs, drinking, cigarettes, everything in that moment. And I called that girl up. I got her voicemail and I said, "Hey, thanks for inviting me to that church event. Maybe I'll see you at the store." And a month later, we were dating. Now we've been married for 17 years, man. That's beautiful. She changed your life. That was your angel. Totally. I tell her that all the time, man. She's my angel for sure. That's awesome. That's beautiful, man. And so going back, you were into drugs and alcohol. And I find that very impressive when somebody can beat an addiction like that. Just cold turkey, you stopped and you never looked back. And in 16 years, you're sober. Correct. Yeah. So how was that process? Your why was way bigger than your current situation, which was drugs. How'd you go about it? What was the processes that kept you sober all this time? Yeah, I had to change the environment, man. So, one, I'm in that environment around guys who are drinking and doing drugs. And here's a cool thing is I called those guys up and I'm like, dude, I got to take a break. I can't go to the bar and be part of this anymore. I've got to take a break mentally. Right. Yeah. And they're like, dude, you do your thing. And they're still my buddies today, but I had to take like 6 months off from going around the bar and hanging out. And so what I did was I replaced that environment with guys that I found in the church that had great businesses, great marriages. They had great walks with Christ. And I just started saying, I want to take you out to coffee and I want to understand your story. I want to understand what you're doing. Yeah. And this is way before I even thought about doing a podcast, but essentially I was interviewing these guys. Like, how are you doing what you're doing? And man, I just soaked it all up as much as I could. I was reading books like crazy. I had to change the environment. And that's what helped me get out of that situation and help me get in the right mindset to go, man, my past and other people's opinions don't define my future. I can set it go and I can go from here and we're going to change the world now. Wow. No, that's beautiful. And now you have a big podcast that you started in 2017. And I was reading in your biography, you have a book coming out here in 2023. Is that right? That is correct. Yeah. So I signed a book publishing deal earlier this year. I've started working on the book. I don't consider myself a writer, so it's a little bit of a slow journey, but hopefully early 2023, we'll have that out, man.
That's awesome. Do you have the title for it yet or no?
I don't have a title. So, I mean, the book will probably be a little bit of my story, but then I really want to dive into, the morning routines and habits and really acknowledging that, again, our past and other people's opinions don't define our future, man. And once we realize that, man, the doors of opportunity swing wide open and we just have to go through them.
For sure. So let's dive into that a little more. I read that you wake up at 4 a.m. 6 times per week. So tell us a little bit about your habits and your morning routine and all that's gotten you to this point.
Yeah, I mean, it really started when I worked for Starbucks. I was a night manager for a while, but then when I first started with them, I was a new guy. So they said you had to open. So I had to be at work at 4 a.m. So my body started to adjust, and I was going to bed at 3, 4 a.m. So it's kind of a crazy adjustment. But yeah, probably the last 15 years, I've woke up at 4 a.m. And what I do is it's a goal of mine to wake up every day. And so if I open my eyes, I acknowledge that's a win, right? Yeah. So I'm already stacking those, and I go, man, God, thank you for another day to see and hug and hold my family. And then I jump out of bed, I make my bed. There's 2 goals that I've already checked off my list. I'm already stacking the wins. So mentally, I have to acknowledge that I'm actually doing something. I'm taking action right first thing in the morning. And then I go down, I do some workouts. We have a home gym. So I work out for about 45 minutes, come upstairs and, hop in the shower and get upstairs to my office. And when I get to the office, for me, I kick on worship music. It's very important for me to have that worship music to start in the morning. And I get into prayer. And for me, prayer is very gratitude driven, man. Thank you for another day to see, hug, hold my family. Thank you for the blessings, for safety, health, protection, right? I don't like to ask. I mean, I don't ask for a lot of things. I'm just so grateful, man. And I think if we can come into the day being grateful, man, that it just allows us to be in a happy place throughout the day. And it's a goal of mine to put a smile on someone's face every single day, whether that's in person or virtually. That's a personal goal of mine that I want to accomplish. And so every day, I just want to find an opportunity to put a smile on someone's face.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. And it's beautiful. And it goes to show, I feel like everybody that's attaining success, or at least being the secret, I would say, to fulfillment and happiness is having that routine. And I think a big one that most people miss is having gratitude on a day-to-day basis, especially when you wake up, having that routine, meditate, write on your journal while you're thankful, give somebody a call, tell them you appreciate them. Little things like that make your day a lot better. I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
I could definitely see how this in a way too shaped and changed your life and change it from negative to positive. And it's very impressive. I was also reading within the notes, man, that you're going to be a leader within the John Maxwell group. Big fan of John Maxwell. I've read most of his books. He is a man. He's changed my life in many ways. So tell us about that.
Yeah, it was a goal of mine to, in 2022 to get into coaching. And I wanted to get an official certification, not just claim that I'm a coach. I wanted to go through the training and actually be certified as a coach. Okay. And I've coached early podcasters and how to launch that and stuff like that. But I wanted to up my game. I wanted to be better at coaching, and how can I be more empathetic and things like that. And so, I signed up for John Maxwell's coaching program earlier this year. And in August of this year, I'll be officially certified as a John Maxwell coach and speaker. So I've been going through all the courses and really taking my time with that. And so I'm taking it extremely serious. Obviously, there was a cash investment that I had to put into it. Right. And so, but I knew that going into it, that it was going to cost me money if I wanted to get certified as a real coach. Yeah. And so going through that training, and then I'm in a couple of different masterminds with folks that are already coaches. So just learning from them. And, so my goal is, I still work full-time job, but my goal is ultimately to walk away from a full-time job and be able to do full-time coaching, speaking, and podcasting and video creation and stuff like that. Oh,
you have a full-time job?
I do. Yeah.
Wow. So you wake up at 4 a.m., you have your own podcast gig, you have a full-time job. Now you're studying to become a coach. Man, and how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 42.
So 42. So 20 years ago, you were completely lost, addicted. And now 20 years later, look at the life you have.
Man, it's I'll tell you, I think that midlife crisis sometimes, I think when I hit 40, I was like, where am I going, man? Like, what am I doing? Right. And I had already started podcasting, but I wasn't like really paying attention to it. I was doing it because it was fun, but and I still have fun. I love podcasting, but I wasn't doing it as a means to monetize myself. So I was doing myself a disfavor, man, just not putting myself out there. And so I said, man, we're going to change the game here. And, in 2021, I did 117 interviews on other people's podcasts on top of releasing 100 of my own podcasts. Nice. And I do work full time. So I get up at 4 a.m. and really I get up so I can do that because my desire to be successful is bigger than my desire to sleep. Right. So I get up and I make it happen. Yep. And then at 8 o'clock, luckily I've been blessed to work from home. So I just flip over to this computer about 8:30, and then I work till 5, and then I have family time. And so the reason I get up early though is because I'm not eating into family time when I get up and work out or do personal development and stuff like that. So I can get up before my family wakes up and I can not affect the family time at the end of the day.
Yeah, no, totally. One thing I really liked, and I'm the same way, but it's nice to see somebody that's the same way, is you wake up 6 days early, but you give Sundays is your day to relax and have family time and just devote to things you like. You have that one day each week that you completely enjoy, I assume.
Yeah. So I don't set an alarm on Sundays. I typically wake up by 5 or 5:30 on Sundays, but so don't set the alarm on Sundays. Once I get up, the routine is the same though. I start stacking the wins, get upstairs, have my personal development time. And really that's the weekends are my most productive time because I can get 3-4 hours out of, personal development or studying for my certification before my family wakes up.
Yeah. No, totally. And for me personally, I do it too. And I do everything, all my workouts, my reading and all that. But Sunday, I do specifically spend more time with my family. I'm near my parents. They're 30 minutes out. So I go down, spend the day with them. I just feel like it's important each Sunday. Sunday, I was raised that way to have family time. So that's nice, man. Now, in the side of the coaching, I've had multiple coaches, and I think they're important to have. They keep you lined up. They make you expand your vision a bit more, and I think they're very important. But now that you've gone through this course with John Maxwell, what would you say are some of the qualities, some of the things you need to do, like people in my audience, to live a fulfilled life, a happy life, and to attain success?
Yeah, I'm learning so much through this course, man. And just in my own personal development, I'm like, oh man, I should have been doing that. I'm learning how to do better goals. I'm learning how to speak better. Right. Mm-hmm. And so I think the important thing and I've been kind of saying this for a while, but really kind of hit home with me when I started studying this is, look, man, if you want to be successful in life or business, you've got to surround yourself with people that are living the life that you want to live. Yeah. You can't be hanging around toxic people. You can't be hanging around negative people. They're going to drain you. And, John Maxwell talks about like when a waterfall is beautiful, people love waterfalls, right? And so we want to go watch waterfalls and be around them, but people hate to be drains. So be a waterfall for someone, man. Don't be a drain on them, man. And so if you're hanging around drains, man, your life's not going to go anywhere, but go hang around people that are in awe of that waterfall, man. Yeah. And that really will motivate you to be better. Join a mastermind, get into tight knit groups. I have a men's Bible study that I go to on Thursday morning. I have a mentorship group that I meet with every 6 weeks. I have a mastermind twice a week, right? I'm surrounding myself with people constantly that are going to motivate me to be better. And if you want to move up in life, man, I say surround yourself with people that are living the life that you want to live, man. Yeah,
man. Yeah, and one thing that's one little common trait that I've noticed, people my age and younger, is they join masterminds. And I suffered with this too in the beginning. When I was 23, 24, I joined multiple masterminds. Now, for example, I'm in Ed Milet's and Andy's RHA Syndicate. I'm part of that one. And one of the things that I feel like I struggled with most a couple of years back and still do at times is reaching out to those people that are ahead of you, right? Mm-hmm. So you see these guys, they own multiple businesses. They're doing extremely well and they're ahead of you, obviously. And it's that little hesitancy of like, what am I going to offer in value? Why are they going to talk to me, right? That doubt. So can you touch on that? Like, what would you do in that case, or any tips on that end?
Dude, it's all about confidence, man. You have to know that you can bring value to them. And I'll drop a podcasting tip that I usually coach my clients on. Okay. But here's how I land the big guys: Ed Milet, Sean Whalen, Tim Story, Jim the Rookie Morris, Bedros Koulian, Bradley. All those guys have been on my show. Yeah. And the exact method that I use to book the big names is this right here. And I don't type a message. I literally pull out my phone and I do a 30-second personal video. Don't go over 30 seconds. And I literally will go to their Instagram. I'll find something that they were talking about. Maybe they went on a trip, or maybe they got a new book coming out. And I will literally pull my video and go, Ed, what's going on? It's Erik out in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, man. I know that you used to have a home out here. You just released The Power of One More. And I want to help you promote that, man. Let's get you on the podcast. Let's chat. You're a life changer for me. Let's go out and start changing the world together, man. Peace out. Done. 30 seconds. That's it. And I DM people on Instagram the video. Don't send a text message. Don't send a message where it's like templated and you're just changing the name. Do a personalized 30-second video every time. they're going to open that video. I don't put any text in it. I just send them a video.
Yeah.
Why is this guy sending me a video? They're going to click on the video. It's a personalized message for them. I took time out of my day to talk with them. And I'm not talking about, hey, I want you to be on my show, other than I want to help you promote this. I want to help you promote that. Yeah. Talk about what you can do to them, like bring value to them that way. They already have followers, right? Yeah. But if you can come to them and say, man, I know that you just released this book. I know that you went on this house, or you just bought this house, right? Let me help you spread the news about that and bring value to them. And that's how you can get their attention. That's all I did, man. I just sent a DM message 30 seconds long, and that's how it worked out.
I'm going to steal that little tip. That's super smart.
Come on. Yeah. In the early days when I started podcasting, I was sending that templated message, right? It was all the same. Man, hey, I got this podcast. Love to have you on. And I just changed the name at the front, right?
Yeah.
And then I quickly realized that I wasn't getting much traction with that. And I said, man, I got to get their attention. So I'm just going to send them a video. And I'm not good at video. Like I wasn't in the early days. I love getting on video now. I'm okay with that. I'm more comfortable now. But in the early days, man, I was like shaking and, I don't want to do this, right? I'm nervous. It'd take me 30 takes to do a 30-second video, right?
Yeah.
But I think the more that you can do it, the better that you'll get, the more confident that you'll get, man. And if you can just bring that value to them in that 30 seconds, because they're busy, they don't have time to watch a 5-minute video, 30 seconds, man, they're going to watch it. And if they're connected with you, they're going to reach out. I've actually never had someone say no since sending them a video.
Really?
Not one.
Wow. I'm going to start using that for sure, man. I mean, as I reached out to you, I used how you started off. I copy and paste the name, and then I send this message out that I already have, that I created. But that's very smart, man. I'm going to start using that for sure. And those are the little things too. When we're going back talking about surrounding yourself with the right people that are where you want to be. In this case, you are where I want to be because you have a big podcast. You've had people that I would wish to have one day in my podcast. So little tips like that go a long way and help you avoid those mistakes that will cost you time.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that, dude. And this is not, look, like I said, I did 117 interviews in 2021. This is by far one of the better shows that I've been on, man. So I appreciate you having me on.
Hey,
dude.
I appreciate that. I'm starting off, I'm learning, what you were saying hit home a lot, because when I started off, I hated being in front of a camera. I hated speaking in public. I hated even putting my face. I was so private. I didn't even have a personal profile. I'm the type of person that didn't really like social media much. But through coaching and mentorship, he opened my eyes and said, hey, man, like, you got to tell your story. There's more to you, and it expands you, And I'm super grateful for it, too, because podcasting gives you this aside from it being an investment, like you said, I'm not really looking for monetizing it by any means. It's more you network with these people and you start talking to them like yourself. You start learning from them, and it motivates you, too. And it's going to motivate my audience, too.
Man, I'll tell you, podcasting changed my life. It has opened the doors for opportunities to go on trips, to meet some amazing people in person. People that I met through podcasting have blessed me with so much knowledge, but you get books and you get cool stuff, right? But that's not even part of it. The biggest part about podcasts for me is the relationships that are built from it, man. And that for me that's what drives me to be better, man. I want to do more shows. I wish that I could do more than one show a week, man. Like if I had the time to put in 2 shows a week, man, I'd be all over it. But I want to be able to touch base with as many people. Look, I know where I came from. In 2017, I didn't know what I was doing when I podcast, man. I was in a walk-in closet, bad lighting, bad microphone. I sat there, didn't know what questions to ask. I just wanted to ask MMA fighters why they want to get punched in the face. That was my first MMA, like my podcast, right?
Yeah.
When I look back, I did almost 100 episodes in that walk-in closet. And then somebody said, how can I listen to your show on Apple? And I said, what the hell is Apple? I had no idea Apple, Spotify, any of that existed. I was literally uploading a video to YouTube and sharing that on Facebook and calling it my podcast. And I'm like, wow, dude, there's a whole nother world out here podcasting. I started studying like crazy, Googling, watching YouTube videos. How do I set up on Apple and Spotify and get on Pandora and all that stuff, man? And so that's what I do in my courses, man. And I take all those shortcuts that I put together over the last 5 years and say, man, here you go. This will save you a ton of time.
Yeah. Wow. Humble beginnings.
Totally, dude.
Humble beginnings.
No idea what I was doing. Yeah. Upgraded the mic a few times, got lights now. I've got the camera,
For sure. Wow. Humble beginnings. That's awesome, man. It's awesome to see somebody go from that point in their lives. And that's a winning story, right? Because you battled addiction, you battled homelessness, you battled doubts, depression. And now look at you. You're an optimistic up guy you speak super well, like very impressive. And we'll go to this part. So obviously we're heading towards, shaky times. The economy's doing bad, recession, all that. And negativity is prevailing around everywhere you look. It's negative. Social media, news, everywhere, right? To the point where I've had to delete my social media because it's just consuming everything that's negative, right?
Totally.
So in your case, right, what are you doing to stay positive, to stay focused, to not let the noise distract you from your goals? What are some thoughts, some processes, some habits that you're doing?
Man, two things that I did that changed my life.
Yeah.
About 10 years ago, I turned off the news. I don't have cable. I have no idea what's going on in the world. I know what I'm doing is I can make an impact with my network, right?
Yeah.
The news has their own agenda. It's no longer news, right? Everything is sad and happy, or I mean, it's all fear-based, right? So I turned it off, man. I could care less about what's happening with the president or any of that stuff, man. Like I know where I'm at in Idaho. Dude, I get to live my life every day full of freedom, and I can carry my gun if I want to carry my gun. Like,
nice.
It's no big deal, right? You know, like we were like, what the hell is COVID out here? We never got hit with a mass thing. Like, you know, we've lived in freedom this whole time.
Nice.
So I just don't care about the news. So number one, if you want to be happy, turn off the news, man. And number two, we need to quit judging people. It's not my job to judge people. My job is just to love people where they're at. I don't care if you identify as a toaster or if you identify as someone else. If you're not hurting yourself or you're not hurting anyone else, my job is just to love you where you're at, man. I don't care who you voted for. I don't care if you're a masker or not, a vaccine guy or not. My job is just to love you where you're at, man. If we just stop judging people and turn off the news, it'll be a game changer for you. I promise.
I totally agree with that. It's just like, man, let people do what they want to do. And you be okay with that. You do you, let them do them, and let's all be happy. You know,
absolutely.
We're not all the same, and we all have to understand each other's different points. We all have different experiences. We're all going through different parts of our lives. So to judge someone based on some decision they're making in the moment, maybe not in the best state, or maybe because that's their personal decision, I totally agree with you. And that's something that I've recently done. In the last 2 months, I've watched zero news. I'm not going to lie. Twitter was my news. I followed certain people, which, you know, it's not this, it's, you follow people that you align with, which at the same time, it's not the best either because you don't see the other point of view. So I started realizing that and opening up to that. I recently did actually this past weekend, I did Tony Robbins Unleashing the Power Within, and it just brought home that part too. It's like, man, like just separate from that. Like create your own goals, have your own routine and all that, and worry about yourself and be happy and things will work out. Right.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. And, you know, I think one of the things that Ed said to me is on my wall right here. It says constant and never ending improvement. And when I had the conversation with him, he's like, I want to tell you about an acronym, CANI. And I was like, man, what is this? And he's told me that. And so I had to put that on my wall. So every day when I walk in, I see that. I'm like, how can I improve today? How can I get better personally? How can I improve someone's life today? And man, if we can just have that mentality going into the day, like gratitude, no judgment, no news, and just love on people, man, the world would be so much a better place.
Yeah, man. And each one of us get better, strive to get better each day.
Totally.
You know, work on yourself. Now, I see you're a huge Ed Milet fan, and so am I. I've read all his books now. And the recent one, The Power of One More. What'd you think?
Man, it was a great book, dude. So much good stuff in there, man. And, you know, watching the interview that Ed did with that and talking about the story, talking about the book and his dad, man, was super cool and really awesome for him to get that intimate in the book and in the interview, man. So for me, it hit home, and, you know, Ed's a legend to me. I actually started my own podcast because I came across Ed online.
Nice.
I was on YouTube searching for motivational speakers. An old video of Ed popped up, and I just felt like, man, what he was saying was aligning with my beliefs. And I started binge watching all of his videos. Literally went back to the very first video uploaded and started watching every single one forward. And then I noticed he has a house out here in Coeur d'Alene where I live. At the time, he doesn't anymore, but at the time. And so I had shot him a DM, and I was like, hey, Ed, I saw that you have a house out in Coeur d'Alene. It's a beautiful house, man. Next time you're in town, I'd love to buy you a burger. Literally, like, that was what I texted him through my Top Rated May Instagram account.
Yeah.
Just me being dumb. Right. So I send that to him, and I'm like 5 minutes later, he responds back. He says, what the hell? Or he goes, hell yeah, let's do it. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, this guy just responded back. Like, I was shocked. Now we never went and got that burger, but here's the thing is he's got the money. So I shouldn't have said, hey, let me go buy your burger. So just a tip out there, don't try to offer to buy stuff for people who have a lot of money, because it's not a good tip. But I did that. Right. And then what I did was I started following him on my personal account, Erik Allen.
Yeah.
And he issued the Max Out Challenge in 2018. And the Max Out Challenge was you had to submit a 1-minute story via Instagram and tag him on it and tell him why you wanted to be successful in life. What drives you to be successful? So I submitted that video. I ended up winning the Max Out Challenge along with Camp Agape from California. We both won, and we landed phone calls with Ed. It was supposed to be a 20-minute call. It was a 30-minute call with just him and I on Zoom. And it was the game changer for me, dude. And it blew my mind. And I had already started the Erik Allen show because of that. Like I had Sean Whalen, and Ed Milet was episode 12 of my show. I just released episode 162 this weekend. So like we've been doing this for a while, but like Ed is the reason that my show exists today.
Yeah, man. Wow. And Ed is the man. He's big, someone I look up to a lot, just everything, all about him.
Yeah.
Character, right? And that last chapter in his book, talking about vulnerability and opening up, I teared up at the end because that hit home with his dad.
Yeah.
Wow. It's inspiring too, because it's inspiring for people like myself, because I luckily still have my father. And one of my big goals in life is to just provide to him, tell him, hey man, listen, like you could retire. The house is paid off. Do whatever the hell you want. That's one of my goals. And I feel like Ed got to that point in his life. And my dad is like my best friend. We talk about everything and all that.
That's awesome.
So it's inspiring to me. It's like, man, I can't wait to get to that point.
Yeah.
I'm just like, Dad, you're good. Thank you for everything. Do whatever you want, Right. And in that sense, Ed's very inspiring, man.
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. I love his mission. I love his values and what he puts out and his guests, man. Like I'll listen to his shows and I'm like, man, ooh, that's a great question. I should be asking my guests that, like taking notes, man.
Yeah. No, I can tell you take notes because the way you speak, the way you project yourself, it's like a podcaster. You look like you've been in Ed Milet's show 3 times and you're coached by him.
Thank you. Yeah.
Sorry.
I was gonna say, man, I had the opportunity to go be a guest on Bradley's Dropping Bombs earlier this year, man, and it was amazing. Flew down to Vegas in November of last year. The show dropped in January of this year, and man, it was a game changer for me to go down there, man. Brad invited me to come on the show, and I was like, hell yeah, I booked my ticket, and I was out, dude.
Wow, man, you're living my dreams. Having Ed Milet as a host, getting interviewed by Brad Lee, having Tim Ferriss, having all these. You also had David Meltzer.
I had David Meltzer on recently.
Wow, man. But you guys have to go check out his podcast. It's great. I was listening before the show. I was listening to the one with David Meltzer, and he's another guy I'm a big fan of. So,
absolutely.
Last couple of questions, Erik. Yeah. One of them is, so what's the next 5 years look for you in the sense of your podcast, your career, and everything?
Yeah. So next 5 years, man, is I want to be a full-time podcaster, speaker, and coach. And I do video creation. So I do a lot of how-to box opening videos and explainer videos for brands and stuff like that. So I'd love to be able to do that full time. Okay. That type of stuff. Right. Next 5 years, have a couple books out, man. I want my first book to come out in 2023. Maybe we'll write another one. I don't know. We'll see how it goes, man.
Yeah. Sure.
And then I want property, man. For me, like it's a goal of mine to have some property. I want at least 20 acres. I want a house on the 20 acres, man. And so that's what I'm fighting for. I literally have this poster in my room. It's my office here that it's a cartoon that someone drew a long time ago, but it's really quite relevant to myself because it says, look, if I can't pee off my front porch, my neighbors are too close. And so I look at that and I go, man, I want that property that I can just pee off my front porch and the neighbors aren't going to call the cops, man.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So you're basically looking for a bigger house out in Idaho where you could just do whatever you want. Nobody sees you.
Yeah. I now I have some really cool neighbors, but outside of that, I just don't like neighbors. I don't like being in the city. So like, I prefer to have my own property. Right. So that's what I'm shooting for, man.
Oh man. You would not do well in Miami then. The area I live in, man, there's 100 units that can see my apartment because I'm right in front of another building. I have a nice view too, but it's very invasive in the privacy sense. They see everything at all times. So I get that, man. That privacy is uncomparable. So Erik, where can my audience find you? Instagram, Facebook? What's your social?
Yeah, ErikAllenMedia.com. It's ErikAllen. So ErikAllenMedia.com is the website. I'm big on Instagram, so I love to connect with people on there. It's just Erik G. Allen. And then if you want to shoot me a DM, I respond to every DM. I comment on every comment that's, put on my page, man. Like I love connecting and networking with people, especially on Instagram. And so, Instagram and the website are the best too. My podcast is on every format that you can think of, from YouTube to Apple to Spotify, IGTV. I upload the full show and I try to bring value to my show or to my guest with a 30-minute show. My shows never run more than 30 minutes. I try to get in, get deep with the guest and then get out. And one, because their time is valuable, but one, I want to bring value in a very short amount of time. And so my shows hopefully can bring value to folks when they're jumping onto that show. And like you said, man, David Meltzer, Brad Lee, Bedros Koulian, Ed Milet, Sean Whaler, they've all been on my show, man.
Guys. And on top of that, you learn a bunch from Erik himself. I mean, his life story is great. And I'll also have this on the notes, guys. Just wanted him to let that out. One last question that I ask all my guests is, what's one book that was life-changing for you or that you would recommend for any young adults, aspiring to be someone like Ed Milet or like yourself?
For me, and I'm a person of faith. So for me, the Bible is the number one influencer book that talks about money, talks about business, talks about life. Like even if you're not a Christian or a follower of Christ, that book has so much knowledge in that. So for me, that was the number one influence. But outside of that, Ed Milet, his first book, Max Out, like that book was like, 98 pages or something like that. I've read that thing several times through. Such a great book, man. And Power One is an awesome book too. But that first book that he wrote is what impacted me.
Yeah. Beautiful, man. Well, Erik, thank you so much for coming on the show. My guests are going to love this. Guys, share this. Everybody needs to know Erik's story. He's a man. Thank you so much for being on the show, Erik. And until next time.
Oh, thank you so much, man. I appreciate it.
Ever wonder what sets the winners apart from the losers? And what does it really mean to be a winner? My name is Federico, and I'm a young, successful entrepreneur passionate about sports, business, mindset, and real estate. If you are just like me and you want to crack the code to victory, then Winning Ways podcast is made for you.